Hello and welcome back to the Ringers NBA Previewpalooza. My name is Hoodie Chris. I'm joined by Kevin O'Connor. David Shoemaker is in the building. Haley O'Shaughnessy. In just a minute, we're going to talk about the Northwest Division. But we wanted to get to a little bit of news first because there has been actually a couple of NBA stories today. Before we get to that, please hit us with your questions. Hashtag NBA Palooza. You can also ask us questions on Facebook, in the YouTube comments. Hit us up on Twitter at RingerKev. October 16th, that's today. It was the last day that guys could re-sign extensions at the rookie scale, correct?
Yes.
And we had a couple of guys who weren't able to work out deals. Embiid had signed his deal a couple of days ago, but today, Jabari Parker, Marcus Smart, and Rodney Hood all are going to be restricted free agents next year. I guess there's what I want to ask. Which one of these rookies is least likely, which one of these guys on their rookie deal is least likely to still be with with their team next season?
I would say probably Marcus Smart, because if they were to re-sign him, they would go deep into the luxury tax.
Okay.
So I would say him for that reason. But all these teams made the right decision
to
hold off, because all three of these guys have questions. Parker coming off a torn ACL, Rodney Hood can never stay healthy, and then Marcus Smart needs to prove that he can shoot and finish at the rim and stay in shape.
So Marcus Smart's agent disagrees with you.
He does.
Yes. What did he have to say about this?
He said on the record today that the Celtics, they will have to pay more.
And ironically, this dude's name is Happy. So he's not happy with Marcus's deal. Thank you. I'll be here. Yeah. Actually, literally, we'll be here all week.
Might be happy.
Kev, the one thing I wanted to ask is with Rodney Hood, and we're going to get to the Northwest Division. We're going to talk about Utah in just a minute. They're counting on Rodney Hood to make up some of the scoring that they lost with Gordon Hayward. Is this like the best motivational tactic?
You know, it's funny because they almost made the same mistake with Gordon Hayward before, when they didn't give him the extension before he hit free agency, and then they waited to match his contract the following summer. So I wonder, like, if Rodney Hood does have a terrific season, he'll remember that.
Yeah, it sounds like all these guys will, right? Because, I mean, the Sixers just gave Embiid that deal. Granted, Embiid has shown the ceiling for Embiid is probably higher for Jabari Parker. But, you know, I mean, they're both guys who have dealt with injuries, same draft class. I mean, what do you think will happen with Parker?
I think with Jabari Parker, he's going to be a good player. But the thing is that torn ACL has been torn twice, and the fact is he still doesn't play any defense. So, I mean, Parker is an essential part of Milwaukee's core, just like Rodney Hood is after Gordon Hayward left. Like, Milwaukee and Utah, they both need their guys to really elevate their games, but they need to be available. That's the key.
All right, that's good knowledge there, KOC. Let's do the Northwest Division. Right. Let's do Utah. Haley, I want to start. We could talk about their best case, worst case. We could start about, like, does defense, can they get them into the playoffs? But I want to give you uninterrupted 30 seconds to tell the world about Donovan Mitchell.
Well, obviously, he's a soft spot for me, having gone to Louisville. And
I'm surprised you're not wearing Adidas.
That's entirely too soon. But Donovan Mitchell is going to be a really happy surprise for a lot of people, especially Utah fans. I think that he will help fill some of that gap that Gordon leaves behind. He's a great defender already. He can guard multiple positions, which is great. That's exactly Utah's style. But I think that actually he'll pleasantly surprise most people on the offensive end. He's got a lot of potential there. He's a good spot-up guy, and he's somebody who you could see really developing a great, strong shot in the NBA. So I think that if he improves most on offense, then people are going to be very pleasantly surprised.
He's definitely in the right spot. It's a team that's going to, like, really accentuate defense, and he's obviously already a pretty great defender. How are you feeling about Rubio? Rubio with Summer Rubio hair.
Summer Rubio and his hair have kind of changed his game a little bit. I wouldn't take this too seriously, but there was one preseason game where he finished with 20 points and 0 assists. Which is literally, I don't know for sure, but I can confidently say has never happened at any stage of his career ever. I think that he will be good for them defensively. He's right in stride with where Hill was, guarding the perimeter. On offense, I'll be interested to see how it fits.
Right.
Everyone knows he's a facilitator. He had an uptick in scoring last year, but it still wasn't anything great.
He had a nice end of the season. I think people are really drunk on the second half.
He did, but he still only averaged like 11 points. I think that the most positive thing you could take from him on offense last year was we finally saw him take a shot and, like, not instantly have, like, negative body language afterwards. He finally looked a little bit confident. I still don't think that he's going
Which
to
is
give
weird because
them
he was playing for
scoring.
Tibbs. So,
Yeah.
I guess people do like fall in love with Tibbs, but I guess it's a shame because Rubio was always being rumored to get traded. It
From the very start.
Yeah, it didn't
Yeah.
seem like he was really Tibbs' guy. So I hope that this is like the cool second act of his career that we were always
Revenge
hoping for.
Rubio.
Yeah.
I hope so too.
Gobert, is there another gear we're about to see this year? It's like his team this year.
I mean, I don't know if you're going to see more offensively, really. I think he's still just really your lob guy. But Rubio, maybe he gets him more easy buckets, and so maybe you do see a higher gear, but in terms of easier shots, but I don't know if you're going to see a more diverse offensive skill set from Gobert.
Okay, just so you guys know, you can hit us up at hashtag NBA Palooza to ask any questions. You can also hit us up at Ringer on Facebook in the YouTube comments. Kev, let's talk about the Portland Trailblazers. Blazers. Kind of a weird team because in some senses they're just running it back with what they had last year, which was not super successful, right?
Yeah.
There's been some debate about whether or not we need to break up the McCollum-Lillard backcourt. Should Evan Turner even be having more playmaking? What do you see as the big storyline for the Blazers this season?
I mean, you're going to get offense from Lillard and McCollum. You're going to get that. But what you need is what they got at the end of last year with Nurkic.
Yeah.
You're going to need him to replicate the high-level production he put out, not just on offense, but on defense at the end of last season. And he looks like he could give that. I mean, he's in the best shape of his life. He looks like he's going to be playing inspired basketball. And if he can sustain that over the course of the full season, then maybe Portland really takes the next step.
Who are the best shape of their life all-stars right now? I mean, I know Millsap lost a lot of weight. We got
Julius Randle,
Nurkic.
Nurkic really is in the best shape
And
of his
Nurkic
life.
is trying to give these guys a different identity. I think that they've had like a lot of different pieces over the years, but Nurkic is like, I want to play hard-nosed defense.
Yeah.
I want to be physical. Bad boys.
Mm-hmm.
Could the bad boys be in Portland?
Hey, I mean, that's what you want. That was like always the problem with Nurkic. Like going back to when he was playing overseas, it's like, well, the effort's there sometimes and other times it's not. But when he turned it on, he was a beast. They call him the Bosnian boogie for good reason. And if we get that version of Nurkic in Portland, they're going to be really good. The question is like, will he sustain that over the full year? And I hope he does.
It seems like a lot to put on Nurkic. I mean, to put on Nurkic for a team that's ostensibly that talented. They have a great coach who, if all this doesn't go right, like all these elements fall apart, Terry Stotts might be like one of the best coaches to ever get shown the door in the NBA. You know, I mean, he's right there if this team doesn't perform.
I could see Stotts being like the guy who gets like snapped up by like say like a Clippers team if they move on from Doc Rivers next year. Like
bad idea.
It's just like Stotts will get a job pretty soon because like what you're saying. I think he's been making like a lot of magic out of what he has in terms of what's on hand. I wanted to ask you a little bit about the Dame CJ backcourt. Micah infamously now picked Damian Lillard third in our point guard redraft. He obviously still has his fans. He's a dope player. But we got to see a little bit of McCollum play point guard last year, and it was pretty cool.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think CJ's. I think this is a layman's point of view, but I think CJ's point guard skills are a little bit overrated or a little bit inflated just by the dreaminess. We all want that to be the case. I'm not sure if either of those guys are a MVP point guard, but they're a hell of a lot of fun to watch playing together.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Denver, because this is another fun team. And you said something right before we started the cameras where you were like, Denver's a highlights team. Like, Denver's a team that I've mostly... And they've become such like a kind of hipster phenomenon with Jokic passes that we haven't really thought about like whether this team can actually make a leap. And I think that they will, but I also was looking at their roster, and it's not as like deep as you kind of want from a team that you think could maybe get out of the first round. And I think that this is going to be another season of development for them. Gary Harris did get paid among these guys who did or didn't. Jokic, obviously, a ton of expectations. He's basically his own, like, he's a meme generator on his own. His passes are one reason to watch basketball entirely. But I don't know, man. Where are the points going to come from? Jamal Murray has a lot to do. So it's just, I like Jamal Murray, but that's a lot to ask of him.
To ask him to learn to play the point in the NBA and also put up 15 or 20 a game,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that's a big leap.
Yeah, and then they still have some people on this roster, Wilson Chandler, Kenneth Faried, who have been through, like 3 or 4 different versions of this franchise. 3 or 4 different, we'll go young, we'll get a star. No, we're going to go slow. Like, it's just like, these guys must be like, when am I ever getting out of here?
I just think this team has so much talent on it. I think you're right. Like, they don't have enough maybe depth to get past the first round, but I think that's okay if you're Denver. I think you're fine with just making the playoffs because your team is so young and you're still developing. Like, it really is still about development, even though some of those guys are kind of on the brink of being really good. I mean, if Jamal Murray makes progress, great. If Jokic takes another step forward, great. Yeah. I mean, that's really what you're looking for. Millsap is the guy who kind of propels them into the playoffs.
Yeah, but Millsap's never been the guy who's like, I'll go out and win you the game. Haley, we have a question from Emery Songer on Facebook who asks, how does Moutier fit in with Denver? They have legit playoff expectations to most people. He's an important piece, no?
It's tough. A lot of like expectations for him really have to pan out. You know, honestly, I'm not sure. Their whole point guard situation, backcourt even, is like kind of the most concerning part for me. I mean, we're just talking about Millsap and like, can he ever be the guy who projects you to like go far in the playoffs? And I'm not really sure we've seen that from him, but the question honestly might be more of the backcourt.
Yeah, it will be ultimately. I mean, I know they run a lot of their half-court stuff through Jokic, but it still seems like they need to be able to stretch the floor. And if Moutier can't shoot, I don't know how many. There's very few guards you can play who are just like, I'm not a threat at all. Like,
there might be really none except Rubio.
And Rondo, right.
I mean, there's not too many at all. I mean, Moutier, he's somebody like you hope he takes that step because that would really be big for Denver in terms of, he's your guy moving forward. Because right now there's still questions about where are we going to invest our money onto this roster? Like, how are we going to find a point guard? And if Moutier proves he's your guy, I think that gives you a lot of clarity towards the future.
Shoemaker, there's an amazing conspiracy theory here for us from Twitter.
Let's do it.
Welt9in, seems like the Nuggets were able to land Richard Jefferson, who is friends with Josh Kroenke. LeBron is also friends with Kroenke.
We think LeBron set Jefferson up with this like golden parachute?
Paid his way to Denver.
I mean, listen,
Rocky Mountain retirement.
Josh Kroenke, I'm sure, is friends with more NBA players than most owners. He's being under the age of 65 is really beneficial. But yeah, sure. I mean, it really sucks for Jefferson to have to leave all of his friends. But, I'm sure he doesn't have that many friends either. He's older than Josh Kroenke, right? At his age, playing in the NBA, he's a very wonderful dude, guys. No question.
But LeBron to Denver probably wouldn't really happen.
Oh, you think LeBron's going to follow him there?
Yeah. Like this guy, he's going
I
to.
thought you meant he helped him get in.
No, he's like the advanced campaign to like go set it up. I'm coming.
It's not. I can't believe you even brought this up.
I mean, he might go to Colorado to visit, but I don't know
exactly.
where to live.
Now he's just like, I have a place to stay when I want to go here.
He's going to go look at schools for his kids in Denver for a couple of days just to throw everybody off the scent. That's the end of it.
Home here.
One other question from Twitter, LFC Selena asks, can Jefferson still be in the Nuggets crunch time 5? I'm not still, but he just signed with the Nuggets today. Do you think he can play?
I mean, I'm wondering why he just didn't take this podcast high, this wave he's on, and just take it into a media career. That's what I'm wondering.
Let's get to the team that is probably the most interesting team in the NBA right now, because everybody wants to know how Hoodie Mello, Russ, and PG-13 are going to play together.
Yeah.
Shoemaker, I wanted to talk to you about the Oklahoma City Thunder. I feel like I was really excited for Melo to go to the Thunder, and I've just been told by every single person I work with that he's garbage, he's past it, he's going to ruin the ball movement, he's not going to play defense. Am I wrong or are they wrong?
Probably you're wrong, but for the sake of argument, I'm fully on your side on this. Every year before the season, there's one bit of conventional wisdom that I just choose not to opt into. And it's not, can these three guys share the ball? It's this thing that you hear everybody say that's of course you do that trade for Melo, but I'm not sure it makes the team better.
Yes.
Come on. Like, it makes the team. He's better than Enes Kanter. Like, he makes the team better.
Actually, not having Enes Kanter makes the team better.
Exactly.
Can't play Kanter.
And listen, I'm not the body language doctor. That's our employer. But as the art director for TheRinger.com, I consider myself like the media day photo anthropologist. And these three guys are super happy to be playing together. Okay.
These are three guys who didn't think look at the situations that they were in. Russ got his MVP, but has to know deep down somewhere inside that he had taken the Thunder as far as he could take them with that roster. Paul George, everybody thinks he's going to the Lakers. He gets traded to the Thunder, and he actually gets talked into this being like a great move for him, and is even making noises about signing an extension. And then Melo, out of nowhere, I only have these three teams and they all have to be in this kind of media market, gets traded to Oklahoma City and is like, let's do this.
Yep.
I'm so excited for this team.
Yeah.
I think that this whole division in general is a sneaky interesting division for coaching, just in because there's all these moving parts that we're talking about in all these teams. I don't know what everybody thinks about Billy Donovan. I know the takes on him kind of go in different directions, but, to have like an old school college coach like him who coaches all these like blue chippers coming up through Florida coaching this team is not a bad look for a team where you have 3 guys that all want to get their own shots and get paid. You
Absolutely.
know? I mean, this is sort of a perfect situation.
I mean, I disagree with Kevin Durant because Billy Donovan, I think, is a good coach. I just don't know if he's had the opportunity to be a good coach to install his system, the same system, ball movement, side-to-side passing that he had at Florida. If this team started using that, they'd be terrific.
Absolutely.
But will they do that? I mean, it's up to Westbrook and kind of these ISO players to take on that responsibility.
Yeah, but being on a team now, after the Warriors started this whole dynasty, being on a team now with other superstars is the cool thing. You're going to try to make it work. So when people talk about, like, oh, I don't think, Russ will never be able to do this, look at his stats last year, I can't buy into that because now this is the cool thing. Now this is what you want to make work because you have to have this or you won't win.
That's a really good point. Like players joining up, I think like with Houston, it's like that as well, where guys want to join forces.
We have a couple questions on Twitter. Ivan Dropolich wants to know, who do you see as the best bench player for the Thunder? Who has to play well in order for them to be contenders? And
Patrick Patterson.
Patrick Patterson.
Yeah, because defense.
Yeah, we have other people saying Patrick Patterson was an underrated pickup. Avery Johnson on YouTube. Thank you, Avery. I appreciate you guys reaching out.
Great coach.
Is it pretty much championship or bust for the Thunder?
Whew, that's asking a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's Western Conference Finals or bust.
Yeah, I mean, listen, for all these teams that we thought, that we said you either got to give up during the age of the Warriors or just like try something crazy, they're trying, they're going for it, And I don't know if anyone considered them like that close to the Warriors, but at least they're like you could imagine a fantasy in which they're there like neck and neck with them.
I think that's the exciting thing about these 3 players together is that these three guys, Adams and Andre, if you put them in, they at least give you a chance against teams like the Warriors and the Rockets. Even if their bench numbers are going to be bad, they can compete, right?
And that was the first time you mentioned Steven Adams. A year ago at this time, everybody's wondering if he can take the lead to be an all-timer.
Right, he can step up now that Durant's gone.
He as the 4th option. It's a pretty great fourth option.
Right.
All right, Haley, I want to talk about the Timberwolves.
Do you?
Another huge storyline, a huge roster changes this season, bringing on Jimmy Butler, bringing on Taj Gibson, bringing on Jamal Crawford.
It's like the further we go down the line, it starts out great, bringing on Jimmy Butler, Jeff Teague, and then it's like Taj Gibson. We're like, Jamal Crawford. I'm like,
Can Jimmy Butler share?
Yes, I think so. I think he's for all that we've seen of him. We have to remember that these guys keep on maturing and keep on maturing. And now I think he sees another team that's got guys around him that they can be great together. So I don't think that he's going to not take advantage of that. Kind of like we were saying earlier with Russ, I think that now, when guys are getting more mature, you're growing up and realizing that I could take advantage of this, and so I have to be a different person. Plus, he's a good passer.
Yeah.
He's a good passer. Actually, he's the person I'd be least concerned with on the Wolves. Maybe nervous about reducing their touches because Andrew Wiggins
is the one that you're worried about.
Karl Anthony Towns last year, they got the ball fed to them all the time with Rubio.
Andy Knack on Facebook asks, as a Wolves fan, how worried should I be about how many minutes Cat, Butler, and Wiggins are going to play this season? There's a precedent for Tibbs running his players into the ground, and frankly, as a long-suffering, cold Minnesota Hoops fan, I am scared. Is he right to be scared?
He is right to be scared because I think Wiggins played the most minutes in the league last year.
Yeah.
And Karl was soon behind. And I actually think Butler might have been up there too. Yeah, and that's honestly with Butler, that's kind of his choice. He's like, look, I'm never coming out of the game. There was a great quote that he had his first go around with Tibbs, where he was like, okay, well, I want to play all these minutes, and he was exhausted, and Tibbs was like, you asked for this.
Right.
Yeah, and they both love that. With Wiggins and Karl, yeah, I'd be worried. I mean, they don't really have an injury past, but it's a legit concern. I mean, you just have to look into history.
Tibbs is like, challenge accepted.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted. Okay, let's go back through some of the social media questions we got from you guys about these teams, since we missed a few. Sam Gibson asked generally, how likely is it that all of these teams make the playoffs? And if it's 4 out of the 5, what team will suffer the most from their Northwest Division games? So Sam's actually taking the division pretty seriously. Who do you see out of this group making the playoffs?
So we have Minnesota in, Oklahoma City in, Portland in, who are we missing?
Denver.
Denver in, and I think Jazz would be the one on the outside looking in.
So who would suffer the most from their interdivision games, I guess? And this is actually pretty tough that you got to play these teams a lot.
It is.
It is. This is a really tough. I mean, all of these teams are going to be, and they're all scrapping for playoff seeding too. Yeah, like I said before, I think it's going to be a really interesting coaching situation. I mean, like the T-Wolves last year were supposed to be great. Now their bench was not spectacular last year, but Tibbs has a lot to prove, despite the fact that he's super entrenched there. And it's not just about playing guys too many minutes. I mean, Quinn Snyder too. Everybody thought he was a second coming last year, and he may well be. But this is the team he's going to have to prove it on, because they look kind of like last year's T-Wolves, with Ricky Rubio and a big guy in the middle. It's going to be a lot.
But how their challenge is going to be, the opposite, because with the Jazz, I don't know how they're going to put up points.
Yeah. Right.
They're going to rely a lot on Hood, but their defense is going to be super strong. With the Wolves, it's surprising, with Thibodeau being their coach, but like their defense was horrible last year.
Right. Well, and Jimmy, they're hoping Jimmy is like and Taj are like floor generals. I was going to say that this division actually is, if you're looking for like, Eastern Conference, Western, like the difference between the conferences is found actually in this division, where you see like a Cleveland and a Boston can take nights off. They can, and they can probably get top 3 seed either way. These guys can't take nights off against each other.
It's going to be wild.
Yeah.
I mean, like, even just, I never thought about it in that context with all 5 of these teams. Like, not all 5 are going to make it, but 4 of them really realistically could. Any of those 4 could. I think with Utah, like, to Haley's point, they're going to lean on Rodney Hood. If he stays healthy and he's able to replicate what he did when Hayward was out last year, they could be the team that makes it. And, like, then maybe Portland, who everybody is kind of picking, maybe they're the team on the outside looking at. Like, every night's going to be important for all of these teams, and that's what makes the West so friggin' exciting this year. Because like we're going to be talking about in April, which team is going to sneak into the 7th seed or the 8th seed. That's going to be wild.
That's great. Okay, so for Haley, for David, for Kevin, I'm Chris. Stick around for more NBA Previewpalooza. Tonight we have the 2017 NBA redraft, where Kevin and me and Sharks and Tate went through the draft picks and re-picked them based on nothing but the last 3 months of action. Then later on, the mighty return of binge mode tonight, and after that, sources say. Stick around, NBA Previewpalooza. We'll be back.